We're in Disneyland today in Anaheim, California, and we're here to talk to Hank Kraychir, Masonic scholar and the founder of Gnosis Masonry. We're going to ask him if Walt Disney was a Mason, and we're going to go further into the subject about the Masonic and Rosicrucian mysteries being connected to this place. So come with me and let's find out. Hank, what does Disneyland mean to you?
A sense of mystery for children, of course, right? A lot of the stories that they have there are absolutely wonderful, but they have a sense of, obviously Snow White and Cinderella and so forth. There's a lot of little mysteries in each of those. And so, but he, it's funny, we know that Walt Disney got his early education within the craft. We know that.
And by craft, you mean
the
masonry, yes.
Masonry. Well, Demolay is a Templar order as a youth order within Freemason. Of course, Demolay was the last Knight Templar, and he has special importance. So a youth organization was developed around that. So we know he was active in that, and we know as an adult he remained active for a period of years. So his early education was definitely in the mysteries and the craft. But also, a lot of people believe that we have some confirmation from people who have said that he was actually seen in lodge. We know that to be true.
Walt Disney was seen in
lodge, but as he became more, particularly after his park and so forth, he became very active in his business enterprise. He didn't attend anymore. So we know that. We also know that a lot of Rosicrucian orders have taken credit for that as well. So taking credit for him too. So that's where the idea of Rosicrucian came in, which would align with much of his creative studies as well. So he had an interest in the mysteries. Mystery School did impact him, and it was seen through his movies and through the parks itself.
Yes, and just as you mentioned, we find a connection with the Disney princesses. So, for example, you see Snow White, and in the Bible it says Israel was white as snow. And then we see the 7 churches of Asia add up to the personality of the dwarves, the different ones like Sleepy and Dopey and Sneezy, and you can line those up.
But if I may add too, the mysteries. When we're talking about mysteries, we're talking about like the mystery schools of old.
Yes.
Right? The Collegia Artificans are the mystery schools of Egypt and so forth. So they generally revolved, whatever culture they were involved in, they were religious teachings. And they were carried forward, and usually by the craft, or Freemasonry, Rosicrucian, and so forth. These were carried forward. So when we're talking mysteries, we're talking basically ancient religion.
That's it.
That's all it is.
And it's fascinating to me because...
So it's all good. I want to make that very clear.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good, positive, and loving.
I agree. I think it's very positive. I think Walt Disney was an incredible man. His intentions were for the highest good.
He brought joy to millions of children and adults.
He did, and it still is to this day. And the thing is that people don't realize with Disneyland is that the very place that it's built on is very special. Yes. So he contracts out 2 guys when he's building Disneyland before the doors open on July 17th, 1955. He talks to 2 guys named Buzz and Woody, just like in the movie Toy Story, but these guys were from SRI, which was the Stanford Research Institute. And the guys that were involved with that were guys like Hal Puthoff, you had Ingo Swann, Uri Geller, Pat Price, all these types of guys. But this SRI stuff, that was the remote viewing stuff. And when they build it on the 33rd parallel.
Very important. 33 is has special importance within the craft. Of course, it relates to the Kundalini, the spinal cord, and of course that is an important component of Scottish Rite Freemasonry.
Absolutely.
And of course, 33, Club 33 as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we definitely have to come back to Club 33 because I want to ask you lots of questions about that.
Absolutely.
When we look over at Disneyland, as you mentioned with the 3030, there's a great book that everyone can check out there by Walter Bosley. It's called The Keys to the Kingdom. I highly recommend it, about the mystery about how Disneyland was built. But when they built it, they put a carousel behind the castle to act as a Tesla coil to spin the energy out into the park so everyone would feel great. And this tapped into these ancient serpentine energies on our planet, the energy ley lines, like Glastonbury Tor, the Great Pyramid. There we find a major connection to the mysteries. So this was, you know, tapping in to a type of a healing center, the mysteries, all the energies that were there. But there's another very interesting clue, and I want to ask you about this. If you can answer it, that is. I don't know what you can answer within the Masonic Oath. That when we see the address of Disneyland, Disneyland's address is 1313 South Harbor Boulevard in Anaheim, California, where we are today. Many people will say, okay, the 1313 is the letter M, is the 13th letter in the alphabet for Mickey Mouse twice. Is this a Masonic code, so to speak, to use the letters and the numbers lined up?
When we have our, we have what we call Masonic ciphers, yes. And MM would refer to a Master Mason.
Yes. So we have Disney encoding that right into the address of Disneyland, which I think is fantastic. All the little mysteries and codes that we find in there.
And then keep in mind now, Disney was schooled in the craft, right, in the mysteries.
Yes, but
and so he would, and we're taught to leave symbolism. A lot of people don't know this, but as you gain Masonic knowledge, particularly the ability to read signs, and of course, the only secrets we often say are signs and tokens, right? But we can read signs and tokens. We can read Masonic allegory. And it is often said that a well-educated Mason can walk in a room and probably within about 15 or 20 minutes find out who the Masons are, just by their actions, behaviors, or words, and their mannerisms.
That's incredible.
Absolutely. So the ability to read things is very important.
Now, Hank, you've written some incredible stuff out there. You have a book out that people can check out, but you've also written an article over at your blog on Gnosis Masonry. Mm-hmm. You wrote an article about this very subject.
Sure.
And there it is if you want to hold it up.
Yeah, Walt Disney and Gnosis.
Which is a great article. I highly recommend this to everybody to check this out.
I think you copied it on your blog as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I put it up on the site at Metaphysical Source. You guys can check out Hank's article there. It's an absolutely amazing article, the research he did. You went in there and you showed us some signs around Disneyland. And one of the things is that there was a very interesting Masonic artifact that we find. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, a Mason obviously picked this up a while back. And I have yet to find it other than on my blog, but it basically has H. Abiff's working tools. This picture is not very good. I believe you'll put it on there later, but of course, I can only speculate that was there for a period of time. I think a Mason was having fun. I don't believe it was structured that way, but I believe a Mason was having fun. He put it out there. Then once it became known on the web, someone probably got in trouble and they censored to remove the box. I think if you go there now, you won't find it. But again, this is common knowledge. A lot of Masons know that Walt Disney was a Freemason. Absolutely.
It's amazing. I did make an inquiry with some people that worked with Disney, and they did say that there used to be a Masonic Club at Disney for the employees, and also that
I put that in there too.
Absolutely, that there used to be also many Imagineers that were Masons. So it does add up to what you're saying, that that they put that in there. Right.
They had a Masonic Club at Disney. They also have, as we mentioned previously, Club 33.
Yes.
Again, that was an elite club. It wasn't just exclusive to Masons. But I have done some inquiry over the years, and I have talked to some prominent Masons who knew Walt Disney. And they basically said, yes, as a 33-degree Mason, you have free access to the park and to the club within the first few years of it opening. But as you know, Walt Disney died before the club was built.
But those were his wishes.
Those were his wishes, so they honored that for a period of time. But a lot of the guys just said they didn't feel comfortable going there because obviously Walt Disney wouldn't meet them and so forth. But a lot of Masons knew Walt Disney, and they said they had access to it, and they did take advantage of it a few times.
Incredible.
But it's since no longer. Again, as time went on, the family leadership has changed, and of course the ties to Freemasonry have changed as well.
Absolutely, but we still see that there is this
Sure.
Blueprint that's still there, that echoes from the past, that Disney left it. He left that symbolism behind.
Skull and crossbones.
Absolutely.
It's a Masonic symbol. A lot of people think it's evil intent, but it's not. It's basically a reminder
Right outside of Club 33, right? You get the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, right? And you get in there, they have the skull and crossbones. And basically that's a reminder that, you better get it right before you die, right? Otherwise, you might not like what's on the other side.
Hank, I'm going to ask you flat out. We know that Walt was a young member of Demolays, but is it possible that he was an adult member of Masonry?
Well, to be a Mason, you have to understand this. A lot of people will comment that he wasn't, but we have a picture of him when he's young, and then when he's older. Of course, when he's young, you can see him here in uniform, but we see him older coming back and speaking. It's very important. If you're not a member in good standing, you will not be allowed in a Blue Lodge to wear an apron or a Templar organization to wear a uniform. It's forbidden. I mean, you could be the President of the United States who was a previous Mason, or it didn't matter. If you're not a Mason in good order, you cannot wear the regalia of that event, no matter who allows it. They just won't. Most Masons will just get up and walk away. So there's no way that he wasn't a member as an adult as well in Demolay. Not with these pictures. This is proof.
Is it possible that his lodge records were lost?
Yeah, and I love that because I've had a lot of arguments with people on lodge records, either lost or expunged. Okay, we have to understand that a lot of people will gain status later on in life, and they'll want their records removed for obvious reasons. And we see that with political figures today. A lot of times they'll go back to their college or their high school. You won't get access to those records for obvious reasons, right? A scandal. They've gone back and they'll find politicians dressing up and doing foolish things, right? So going back, either they were expunged or they were lost. That's obvious. I don't believe his Demolay records. I think pretty much everyone acknowledged that he was a youth Demolay, so there's no issue there. But in terms of Blue Lodge, I've met people who met him in Lodge in the Hollywood area. Okay. So that's a well-known fact within the craft. Why are there no records by Grand Lodge? It's really easy. You could get those expunged. And I do have a personal account for those skeptics who don't believe that such things happen. That we are human. Oftentimes, a recorder is put in place because he's well liked, but not necessarily qualified, and they often make mistakes. But I know a personal account. My father passed away some time ago, and found a Masonic Bible and some certificates, Entered Apprentice, Fellowcraft, and Master Mason, from the 1930s. I found it, 1940s, sorry, and it was very interesting. I said, well, wait a minute. It was Paul Kraychir. And as my grandfather, and she goes, no, that's not Dad, that's Grandpa. Wow. My grandfather was a Mason at Paris Lodge, California. Very interesting. The lodge doesn't exist anymore. Can't find any records. Okay, I go to the Grand Lodge. No record. So I'm to assume, despite the fact that I have a Masonic Bible with his name, and all the certificates related to his Entered Apprentice, Fellowcraft, and Master Mason degree, that he is not a Mason, although I have them and there's no record by a Grand Lodge. So I contend that we are not an infallible organization. We make mistakes.
That's it. And we see lots of other hints around the Disney franchise. We see the idea of Donald Duck. He was giving this sort of demonstration of Pythagoras before. We also go into the idea that another fellow out here in California that I know, that he's a Mason. His name is Sean Rachel, and he told me that when you watch the It's a Small World ride, he said that the main character that follows you all the way through, the protagonist, is the sun. And he goes, that's the light of Freemasonry. Right. It's guiding you.
Just so the light of Freemasonry, the sun is God. Just make that clear in the ancient mysteries. There's nothing mysterious about that. That is God, or the entity of God.
That's it. The light of the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there were some looking for. Okay, here's Mickey Mouse. You could probably show a better picture of this, but Mickey Mouse wearing a Demolay pin. Oh, yeah. No accident there. There were some other issues. I think someone was taken out. Sacred Geometry taught by Donald Duck. Yeah. Cartoon.
Exactly.
You can still get that on YouTube. Oh, and then if you ever get a chance, Gravity Falls, which is more contemporary. The Mystery Shack has an episode that has a lot of Masonic symbolism in it. No accident there. And of course, we can see the skull and crossbones, right? It's there. Let's see what else. We have a cartoon of Mickey Mouse laid out in a Masonic Lodge. I mean, you know, no accident there, right? But again, they were poking fun. They were just poking fun.
Exactly.
That's all it was. And of course, a lot of the ideas come from the craft, not exclusively, but they do come from the mysteries which are brought.
And that's it. And I think that's what we want to get across to people today. That with Walt, this beautiful, amazing man that did so much good. He loved the mysteries. He loved the Rosicrucian mysteries. In fact, he loved Demolays.
We know he was a Blue Lodge, and we know that he was a Blue Lodge Mason because I've had personal accounts of that. We have no, I've never heard anything about either York Rite or Scottish Rite, to be perfectly honest with you.
Because a lot of people on the internet, they've tried to say that Walt Disney was a 33rd degree, and there's nothing connecting him to Scottish Rite.
No, not that I've seen. Now again, he had a lot of artists working for him, and they might have put some who were Masons, and they might have used some, and with his tacit approval, they might have written that in there. We know there are several of accounts. Hollywood has a tendency to make fun of different groups at different times, and of course they'll hide things within a movie or clothing or so forth and so on that can only be seen if you slow it down. So it's possible that other people did certain things that would allude to any Masonic mystery, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he did it. You have to be careful now. He was a powerful man. If you didn't do it, if you did something like that, particularly in the 1950s or 40s, you could get terminated unless you would have gotten approval from him.
And there you go. So Walt Disney, he left behind the signs, the symbols, the secrets. Club 33 on the 33rd parallel at 1313 South Harbor Boulevard, and everybody is still enjoying it to this day. The beauty of the mysteries. What an amazing man. Hank, thank you for your research. You're incredible. How can people find you on your website and blogs?
Basically, Facebook. I have Immortal Light. That would be, we have a study group that we basically go over Albert Pike every day. And then, of course, Gnosis Masonry are the best ones.
GnosisMasonry.com?
I believe so, yeah.
There you have it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay tuned to this man for more on the mysteries. We'll talk to you soon.